Okay, we are back with part 2 of the Fiction Weekly Reflection, and we are going to use the story 7th Grade by Gary Soto in order to do the second part, which is creating a title for what we read this week and explaining it and also indicating where we are on the plot pyramid. Now, if you're actually reading a novel or a lengthy short story, it's possible that you could be anywhere on this plot pyramid. Ideally, you're going to be past the exposition. If you're doing your weekly reflection on a book and you're still only in the exposition, you're probably not far enough along to really do justice to it. If you find that the action is rising and you're starting to see some conflicts and the plot is thickening, you would indicate that you're somewhere in the rising action by circling it. If you reach the turning point or the highest point in the action, you would be at the climax. If you feel that the turning point has already happened and the novel or short story is wrapping up its loose ends, you'd be in the falling action. And if everything is resolved and you've finished it, you'd be at the resolution. Since we finished this story, that's what I am going to say. We're in the resolution. That's the easiest part. The next part here is a two-part response. The first thing we must do is create a title. It's your opportunity to be creative. And then the second part is to explain it. So we have to do two things in order to satisfy what we need to do to answer this question. The story itself is called 7th Grade, but I want to be creative. I want to think about events that occurred in this story, and I want to use them to get people to maybe want to read it. So I'm going to call it Love and Lies. So I will start out by saying I would call it Love and Lies. And I will watch my capitalization. I put quotation marks around it because that's a title of a short story. And I've satisfied part 1, which is creating a title. Now I need to explain why. So why would I call this story Love and Lies? It's about a 7th grade boy who has a crush on somebody else. Well, number one, I want it to be exciting. But in the story, both Victor and Mr. Bueller have indicated that they've fibbed a little bit in order to win the affections of girls that they liked. So I'm going to explain it just that way. I'm going to say something like, this would be a good title. Because in the story, both Victor and Mr. Bueller use fibs or little white lies and deception to win girls' hearts. And it's as simple as that. I might add another sentence and say something like, even though they're not terrible lies, they do not tell the truth. Even though they don't use terrible lies, they're not 100% honest. And that way I've backed up my title. It makes sense now. My reader can see why I would call it Love and Lies, because hopefully I've done a good job of convincing them. Stay tuned. We're going to talk about themes and how we would go about deciding what the theme is for a novel or short story, as well as talking about conflicts and character traits.